Welcome to the Jones Zone, a podcast by Daryl and JJ Jones.
Hope you enjoy this episode. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for similar content. We have videos explaining escrow, title insurance, how to get top dollar for your house, mistakes sellers make all the time, how to evict a bad tenant, and so much more.
1 out of approximately 30 Californians have once had their real estate. It's a very big turnover.
It's hard work, and you have to be active and proactive. I mean, you can't just sit there and expect the business to come. You have to go out.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that you made? And don't say Dad. You think real estate's easier now or harder?
I think it's easier now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Jones Zone. Today, I'm going to interview JJ. She's Daryl and JJ. This is my mom, JJ. We're going to talk about her when she first started in her career back. You were the listing agent or represented the buyer in the Louisiana purchase?
Both.
Oh, okay, good. So welcome and thank you for joining us. My nephew Jeremy, he does these things, whatever you want to call them, suggested that I interview her to talk about how real estate used to be back in the 70s and 80s. This seems like yesterday to me, but I know a lot of people it's a million years ago. So I have a list of questions here that I want to ask Mom. Mom, tell me, how did you get into real estate?
I worked in Alpha Beta Bakery, which was a very tough job, and I worked nights. And I really wanted to your dad wanted me to quit working. George told him, get her out of that bakery.
Yeah, because you usually work at, if I remember correctly, you had really weird hours. You'd have to get up at
2 o'clock in the morning. And I wanted to get in real estate, but I'd never really talked about it because I loved looking at houses and seeing what's out there and seeing how people decorated and everything, especially on new home tracks. And so George talked to your dad and said, let her go, let her go to real estate school, because I had quit the bakery by then.
So 1977, how did real estate work? So for example, how did you find sellers back in 1977?
Open houses.
So open houses were a big deal. They're still a big deal.
And people that would call in when I had floor time, which we had floor time, and whoever called in, whoever was doing the floor time, they would get the next call.
For those of you that aren't used to what we used to call home phones or regular phones or landline phones, that would mean she'd have to sit on a desk for a couple hours, right? And just wait for the phone to ring from the advertising. What is it, newspaper advertising and sign calls?
Or they call from signs, or they just call the real estate office because they wanted to buy something or sell something sometimes.
So they call you up and they say, okay, we want to buy, we call in this 123 Apple Street in Whittier or wherever. And what happens next?
Then you make an appointment to show it to them.
And then they said they didn't like that. And let's say
then you line up other properties. First of all, you go out and you preview and find out what's on the market before you even are doing floor time. You know the area, and you know what's being advertised, what we have.
How did you find those houses? Just from the signs in the front yard, or
on the multiple listing service?
Explain to everybody what the multiple listing service is. This is a lot of these people are just used to the internet.
We had tear sheets, which would come on a sheet of paper larger than an 8 by 10, and then you would tear them apart for each listing, and then you would put them on a Rolodex.
Where would you get the tear sheets?
From the board of realtors. They delivered them.
So they would deliver to an office, like there's 30 agents, they would deliver 30 of them. Oh, there's the new listings. This was every day?
Yeah, you'd tear them apart once a week, and you'd tear them apart, and you put them in your Rolodex, and you'd see the picture and all the information about the property, and then you would go look at properties. There were days that you just went out with the broker and go preview all these properties.
Were there lock boxes?
There were lock boxes, yeah.
And you just had a key back then, no code. I remember because I got in 1990.
We didn't even have cell phones.
Did you have running water back then?
Well, actually, we had to dig a well.
Oh. So what were the biggest changes you saw in your career? Your career was over 30 years of selling real estate, the late 70s to the 2010s or so. What was the biggest change?
Well, we didn't even have computers when I got in real estate. We didn't have home warranty plans.
Home warranty plans are warranties that sellers can offer to provide to a buyer who's buying a house that says, hey, look, if the dishwasher goes bad or the sink goes bad or various things depending on the coverage. It's warranted. So
we're in the office and a lady walks in telling us about these home warranties, which was all new.
How many pages were
One page.
One page. So now it's like 19 pages.
Yeah, 1 page offer. Everything's written out and you fill in the blanks. Buyer's name, price.
Name. It seemed like it would be a little bit more challenging getting information.
And not only that, we would go to the seller's house to present the offer to the seller. And there might be 3 or 4 people waiting their turn to go in and present the offer. And I've been out at 11 o'clock at night waiting to go into a house to present an offer. They had 4 or 5 offers maybe, then you had to wait your turn.
I remember that. I remember having that. And then nowadays it's just the email. It's like, here's the email, the offer, and then the seller's agent, listing agent would just present it to the sellers.
Yeah, you don't meet with anyone now.
Yeah, but I remember, having to go sit down with usually the seller, the listing agent, myself, or you, and then the buyer wasn't there. And we just say, here's our offer. It's
The buyer's
from
agent,
Mike
the listing agent. And
Kathy Smith, and it's for X amount of dollars. They've got this down payment.
And sometimes the people would write a letter of why they wanted the house and how much they loved the house and what was great about it and how they would take care of it.
And the board's recommended now that we don't do that because they say that the seller could be accused of being
Prejudiced
or whatever. So what was the biggest challenge with all the changes that were happening? I mean, the whole world was challenged with all the technological changes that we have with the internet.
When we first got the computer, I was working at Realty World in Fullerton, and we had to take turns. We had one computer. So if you wanted to use the computer, you had to wait for somebody to leave the computer, and then you would look up what you wanted, listings.
Finally got computerized, though, because you went from tear sheets to the MLS book, though. Right?
Yes, we had the books.
And I remember going on caravans. You bought a caravan.
Oh, yeah, we had.
Previewing homes were a really important deal.
We would have caravans. Different cities would have their caravan on different days, and agents would prepare food or buy food and serve it to get more agents out to look at their listing.
So then when they got a buyer that was looking for a 3-bedroom,
then they would remember that listing. Or sometimes when I went to preview, I'd find a house and I'd call my client right away and say, this is the house. And they'd come and look at it and buy it. So it would pay to be out looking at what was available.
You got computerized back, probably, I think that was when I started, 1990. I think that's right around when you started getting it on the computer.
Realty World Cupper.
Okay, it was a little bit before, probably in the late 80s. Quaker Realty with George Custer was the broker owner.
Yes.
And then you moved to...
After 2 years, I moved out to Realty World.
Realty World
and Sam
Classic.
Cupper.
He was a professor at the Cal State
Cal Fullerton. He taught Chinese history.
Oh.
He was Jewish and he taught Chinese history.
Did he speak Mandarin? Probably. So what was the biggest significant changes from your recollection?
Everything just slowly evolved, so you just naturally fell into all the new changes. Everything changes every day practically anyway in life. So as things change, you just adapt. It's a lot easier nowadays.
Yeah.
You had to really work hard.
Very laborious.
And since I was working in Whittier and lived in Brea, sometimes I'd just get home and get a call and have to go meet clients over in Whittier. And I loved real estate anyway. Every bit of it. I loved looking at the houses. I loved showing. And it was very exciting when you found the house that they really liked.
So what skills do you think, what skills should one have, or what skills that contributed to your success?
You need to have people skills and like people.
I like people. That's a Paul Lynn thing. I don't think anyone knows Paul Lynn, but Paul Lynn. Right?
And like to help them because they're out looking for something that's a big major purchase in their life, and you want to help them find the right one.
So people skills, diligence, hardworking,
knowledge of what's out in the property, for sale,
right?
What's available.
Finance. You had to know about financing. Did you just set them up with a lender like we do nowadays? Because it was kind of backwards, I remember, when I first started. Because I remember people would show property for
then you would get
and then they'd say, okay, we want to run it off. And then you have them talk to a lender, and the lender says, they can't buy this property. So why did we just waste time?
No, that usually didn't happen, though.
No, you learned that faster than I did, I guess, because it happened to me a couple of times. And then the other thing that I remember was home inspections. I remember having to go to walkthroughs. We still do walkthroughs at the end of the transaction, but it's more of a walkthrough where you go there and just make sure that everything's still standing and it's the same condition. But back in the 90s, at least, we didn't have home inspections. We would go to the walkthrough and we'd be testing all the electrical and the lights and the plumbing, the toilets and the stove and the oven and everything for the first time. And we'd always be sweating. No, am I remembering that wrong?
It's hard for me to remember because I just remember the home inspectors, and some of them would take forever and talk so much you'd be there for hours.
I just remember sweating going to those darn walkthroughs because you find out something's wrong.
Since the first sale was the Louisiana Purchase, you think I remember all this other stuff?
That's right. Now, were you the listing agent on the Louisiana Purchase, or did you represent the buyer? Well, you had the buyer, actually, because of the United States. It was a French guy that listed it. Okay, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you made? And don't say dad. In real estate.
Having kids, no.
So what are the sacrifices or mistakes?
One of the things, we only had one phone at home, and I worked from home. When I get home from work, I'd be getting phone calls, and
529-2550.
and Daryl's friends would call, and I'd answer, and I said, he can't talk right now, and they thought I was angry with them, but I needed to take care of business.
My buddy Jeff Webb, he's the one that comes to mind, and that's why you're talking about it. He would say, Daryl, your mom doesn't like me, huh? And I said, what do you mean? She likes you? He said, well, every time I call, she just rushes me off the phone, doesn't talk to me or anything like that. I said, oh, she's a real estate agent. She has to talk to clients. She has to keep the lines free. Because either that or you had someone else in the line. That's because
I usually had someone on the line.
Yeah, they had what's that called?
Call waiting.
Call waiting, yeah. Well, I guess they kind of have it now with cell phones, but yeah, that was kind of funny. So that was kind of a sacrifice. You had to give up. It was just like a 24/7 job back then, too. It is now, still.
Yeah, and my kids, I didn't have as much time with my kids that I wish I would have taken and spent more time.
Well, I think based on evidence, you should probably write a book on raising kids. So what advice would you give a younger JJ if you were to look back and talk to JJ back in the late 70s when you were starting out?
Well, you don't really believe people completely when they say they only want this, because then they end up buying something that they didn't want a lot of times. So you have to show them everything out there that you think might fit their needs, and that maybe this one they'll like, even though it's not exactly what they said they wanted, because a lot of times buyers bought completely different than what they told you they wanted, because they might fall in love with it. You show them something that they didn't even think they wanted. Because it happened to me, one particular client, and it's the only one I can really think of, I had been showing them certain amount of bedrooms that they wanted. They walked into an open house that wasn't what they had said they wanted, and they bought the open house from the realtor that was sitting open house. So I lost a client because I listened to what they wanted.
I remember a lady once told me, she said she wanted 2 bedrooms. And as you remember, they typically would tell you the minimum number of bedrooms or more. So she said 2 bedrooms. I said, okay, so 2 bedrooms or more. And she goes, no, I don't want more. I don't want any of my kids moving back home. Only 2 bedrooms. I tend to, that's my advice when I tell buyers is if they ask for advice, I say, look at as many properties as possible. I show them as much as possible. I remember people used to preview properties and then narrow it down. And I after doing that a few times and kind of having what you said happen, and it's also not educating the buyer. So what I started doing, I don't know if you did this too, but I forget about previewing. If I was going to preview 15 to show them 5, I said, heck with it. Let's just show them all 15 of them, because it's better for them to actually see what I'm seeing, to realize that when they find the perfect house, in order for them to know it's the perfect house, they have to see a lot of ones that aren't the perfect house.
Yeah, that would happen, and I would show all these houses, and then when I found one on a preview or something, and I thought, this is the house, I'd call them, they'd come out to see it and buy it. So you have to take them to see what they really like, because what they say they like, when they see something else, a lot of times they like that better.
What are the biggest misconceptions you think people have about the real estate industry?
I watch so many people come into the real estate office and the business. That wasn't when I first started, though. It wasn't the first 2 years. But after that, I watched so many agents that would come in, and they think they're going to get a phone call when somebody wants to buy a house. They didn't realize they had to work with it. Go out, do open houses, go out, meet people. And we had what we called floor time back then, where you would sit there and answer the phones in case somebody called wanting to buy a house or sell a house.
So people kind of thought it was easier than it was.
Or they'd walk in, so they thought it would be easy.
It's funny because I just was talking to someone. I had heard once that it was 1 out of 7 Californians, but then I ChatGPT'd it, and it's actually 1 out of 30, which is still very high. Well, it said ChatGPT said 1 out of either 26 or 40. They couldn't really give you a definite answer, but 1 out of approximately 30 Californians have once had their real estate license, meaning it's a very big turnover. I mean, that's a lot of people. You can't say that about any other career, really. I mean, 1 out of 30 people haven't been elected.
It's hard work, and you have to be active and proactive. I mean, you can't just sit there and expect the business to come. You have to go out. Yeah, when you did floor time, luckily somebody could walk in wanting to buy a house or sell their house, but that didn't happen every day.
Yeah,
Or they could call in on an ad and say they wanted to know about a house.
That's another thing. Advertising was advertising was through newspapers and magazines back then, right?
And your signs that are out there, people.
And your signs. Not like it is now.
It might be your office signs, not necessarily your sign, but just a sign. Or somebody would see a sign and they think, oh, I'm going to call this office to find out about a house.
Did you have personal signs back then? Or was
No.
it just the office signs? Not like it is now. We have all
You
personal
have
signs.
name writers.
Another thing that's I think it's possibly lost on what the public may or may not realize is that real estate's a little bit unique too, to where when real estate agents go get hired, they actually don't necessarily, well, some do, I guess, but they don't necessarily interview to get hired. They interview the office to see if they want to work there, if that office will give them enough tools. Meaning it's kind of like offices come and recruit us a lot.
Yes.
How has the real estate industry changed since you retired? To the best of your-
It's changed tremendously. It would be all brand new learning for me because I don't know all of the ins and outs, how they send the offers over.
DocuSign, yeah.
I mean, it's like everything is computerized. You don't meet with many people anymore. You just send the papers over, they sign it.
You think real estate's easier now or harder?
I think it's easier now. If you know all the technology, but because when you get older and all this new stuff comes out, you don't really know all of the techniques and everything. You have to learn all that stuff. So if I started now, it would all be Greek to me. I wouldn't know what to do.
How long have you been speaking Greek? No. What's your greatest success story? I mean, besides your kids.
Well, I remember one in particular
Daryl.
in Brea.
Oh.
My partner, Sharon, Knight at the time.
Well, your partner, your business partner. In this
Yes.
day and age, you got to clarify.
Oh. The girl that worked with me was 22 when I met her. She came into our office. She had been in Cal State Fullerton, had graduated, and she knew Sam. And she came into the office, and I was looking for a partner to work with to go out and farm, which we called.
Farming, just explain what farming is to people.
You have an area that you go to every month. You talk to people, you knock on the doors, you give them a notepad. Maybe you give out pumpkins or something on Halloween and just different things. You get to know all the people that live there. They get to know you, and then when they need an agent, they'll call you. And so her and I worked together, and one of the best memories is her and I went on a listing appointment in Brea, Eagle Hills to be specific, tri-level model. We were thinking that maybe we're not going to get it because he wasn't seeming like he was going to list it with us, and something that Sharon said closed him, and he listed with us. And it sold immediately because another agent that already had gone there had a buyer. So we just got the listing, it sold. I heard even that I was a really aggressive agent,
really smart
which I
agent.
didn't feel that I was that aggressive. I did my job. There was an article when I worked at Realty World Classic Properties that called me the sweetheart of real estate.
What was the biggest mistake you probably made during your real estate career?
Not purchasing more real estate because there were a lot of opportunities that I had to buy.
So in hindsight, you wish you would have just bought more of the product that you sold. Not necessarily
Yes.
at a discounted price, but just at fair
Right.
market value.
Right.
And then rent it out,
Right.
and watch it grow.
Exactly.
You know who else wishes you would have done that? All of your heirs. Well, thank you, Mom. I sincerely appreciate it. And thank you for sitting down and bearing it and doing this. And we can't wait for you to get back into real estate. So, still things you can do. You do open houses.
That's true. I may be doing one soon for you.
Oh, good. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, everybody, for watching it. Hopefully that didn't bore you too much. And enjoy the rest of your week. You good?
Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe for more.